Welcome back here to CIO Insight. This has been a busy week for us. We covered a lot of news, had a couple good interviews, and one of the biggest news items in the last 2 weeks for our CIO and technology community has been around Windows 8. Now, a lot of the focus has been around Windows 8 as a client, as a tablet product, but I think some of the most interesting pieces are around the Windows 8 server. Windows 8 server in technology, the server is really the piece that sort of runs the company. And I could give you a lot of opinions on it about what I think about it, but maybe you should talk to an expert here. And Cameron Sturdevant at eWeek Labs is our expert on Windows 8. Cameron, how are you doing?
Hi, Eric. Good to be with you.
And Cameron, you've been looking into Windows 8 as a server. There's some things I'm sure you found you like, you don't like. But first, give me the, I guess it's a 35-second elevator pitch when you happen to be in the elevator and someone says, hey, you've been looking at Windows 8 Server. What do you think?
Sure. Windows Server 8 is, first of all, I want to say what we don't know about it. We don't know what the product SKUs are going to be. We don't know what the price is, and we don't know when it will be available. We can guess at all of those things, but we don't know a lot of that right now. But I was at the developer preview workshop up in Redmond, and we've been working with the product here for about 2 weeks now. And the things that I would look at, especially from a CIO point of view, taking a strategic look at the product, is the fact that virtualization really takes a big step forward. VMware with VMworld last month inaugurated really the era of the giant virtual machine, and with 2 terabyte RAM, 64 core virtual machines, and Microsoft has really stepped up. They don't have quite as much RAM support. I made a note here. It's up to 32 virtual processors, which I think that's what the VMware systems do too. VMware virtual machines can be 1 terabyte of memory. The the Microsoft machines can have up to a half a gig of memory. But these are very large systems, and Microsoft is really making a serious effort in virtualization.
So would you say that Microsoft, which it seems sort of a reluctant party to the virtualization dance, as near as I could tell at the beginning. It seems that Windows Server 8, they really embraced this whole virtualization process. From what you've seen, do you think all the pieces are there for someone in IT to really look at Windows Server 8 when it's introduced, which could be a year from now, as the fundamental virtualization server in their organization?
I think the IT managers should put it on their evaluation list. It was easy to dismiss Hyper-V, the Hyper-V role inside of Windows Server in previous versions. This version, Windows Server 8, Hyper-V really takes a big step forward, both with storage management, virtualized networking, and, as I said, the introduction of these very large virtual machines. And the other thing that Microsoft has that VMware does in an ecosystem, but Microsoft really has an ecosystem but really does a lot of this stuff internally and has done it pretty well for many years now, is the System Center products. So there is System Center Virtual Machine Manager. There are a whole series of operational products that come from System Center. Those teams worked with the Windows Server team, and Microsoft also has something that they bring to this, which is the the operational experience from, say what you will about them, but Hotmail and Bing both rely on very large data center operations. Microsoft has been using its own products in many of those places, at least in some form. And so they're bringing some server management to this. They're also bringing some operational experience to it. They obviously have the bias that they want everything to run on Windows. But I think that part of what's lowered the barrier to virtualization from a Microsoft point of view is that data centers today are driven in large part by mobility. The handsets and tablets that we see out in the world, those devices are driven by applications that are running in data centers, and the proliferation of virtual machines and the role that virtualization plays means that Microsoft saw Windows systems being implemented and virtualized instances in large numbers, and so that I think has also lowered their reluctance. But coming back to some of the technical things, really it is about this is a version of Hyper-V that is going to allow IT managers to really put this on the agenda. And I think that there will be some price competitive performance characteristics that people should look at now.
So it sounds like, Microsoft, which tended to be sort of a siloed organization, they sort of fell in love with the consumer business or Connect or Hotmail. And they've addressed some of the issues that I think were outstanding there from what I hear in terms of virtualization, in terms of how to manage all those virtual machines, that they're almost too easy to deploy sometimes. So it sounds like, they put some emphasis and some interest in bringing in all those management pieces or making, what they've learned from Hotmail, what they've learned from Bing, part of the experience within the Windows Server 8 piece. I mean, is that your perception?
That is my perception, and obviously our testing is ongoing here. And I don't want to say that VMware released some very impressive technology at VMworld. vSphere 5 is still, I would say, the market-leading product, and quite frankly, Windows Server 8 is still not available as a production-level product. That being said, the things that Microsoft is bringing to the table now, it's really important to look at some specific areas. There's some storage management that they've put into this where they really want to lower the boundary or the knowledge level of the operational staff. So you still need your storage experts to initially configure and implement, but they want to really push the operational day-to-day stuff really down the IT management stack. And for us CIOs, I think that's an important thing to think about. The other thing that's important, just from a management point of view, there's a lot more in terms of showback and virtual machine lifecycle that's in both in Windows Server 8 and, of course, in the sister products that come from System Center, and in particular, System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Many of those System Center tools are also getting facelifts right now as well that are focused primarily on virtualization. So being concerned about that life cycle means that the sprawl, where you just deploy machines and then forget about them, I think that is really coming into focus as an area, and that's an area that Microsoft brings, a fair amount of expertise. And again, it's something that VMware does, but they do it mostly with partners. It's interesting to note that System Center Virtual Machine Manager can manage both a Hyper-V Microsoft environment and a VMware environment.
Okay, well, Cameron, thank you. I know you're going to keep looking at this. We're going to have you back on the show throughout the next year, giving us updates on this. And Butch, there you go. When you go to deploy your Windows Server 8, you can get some advice.
Great show. Cameron Sturdevant, Gene Lee, Guy Curry. We want to thank, all our guests here on CIO Insight. Outstanding job today.
Yeah, this was fun. It's always good to learn a little bit something.
I did.
On a Wednesday afternoon.
I learned a lot, absolutely. For Eric Lundquist, for Kyle McNaught, the producer, for all of our guests, I'm Butch Stearns. This has been CIO Insight. I encourage you to check out the content on demand on the Pulse Network, and you can find it on our Pulse on Technology community on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, and all those interviews will be out in their social channels that we send the interviews to for all our guests. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. I'm Butch Stearns.
As long as I can have you here with me, I'd much rather be for every blue jeans, yeah.